Profanity is guaranteed. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, and welcome back to Card of the Macabre.
Hello.
Hello.
How's your head, love?
Haven't had any complaints.
Okay. She nutted the lights. So I was just wondering.
I did nut the lights, and it was a hard nut.
Hard nut.
Yeah. It hurts.
And this is our 4th episode of the day as
Yeah.
well. So,
So at this point, I can't tell whether I feel tired because it's the 4th episode or because I've rattled my brain a little bit from hitting the lights.
yes. All I can see is those fabulous sunglasses, and I'm just wondering why I don't have any, because they are fabulous.
Thank you.
And you do need to take them to see Tim Burton next week. Next week.
When we go.
When we go. I'm going to do my nails, so they're like Tim Burton-y-ish. It's probably doing black.
I'm just going to what's the word? No, it's gone.
Okay. I mean, we could wear Adidas, because I have a lot of black and white Adidas.
I don't have black and white Adidas.
Do you not?
No. I got a really faded black Adidas t-shirt with Adidas and white. It wouldn't be good enough though. And some faded black Adidas leggings with the 3 white stripes, but
Okay.
I would look like a homeless person.
Who likes Adidas?
And Mark's going to wear as many colours as possible.
Are you going to go against the grain of the Tim Burton fans?
You could wear some purple and green, some blue.
You could do. But if you're a real Tim Burton fan, you'll have some sort of black and white stripes on you.
Pink and yellow.
Mental.
Poor Felix.
Well, this is your episode today, love.
Yes, I'm taking the reins today. And yeah, again, it's not a case that I had heard of before. It's an American case, and so I think I'm just gonna head straight in. I think.
Do it. Dive in, babe.
So I've called this one "Terror in the Midwest," and today we are going to unravel the terrifying. Yeah, I've got my braces in, so I'm going to struggle to talk.
Would you like to take a moment to take them out?
No.
Okay.
So I'm going to unravel the terrifying saga of the co-ed murders, also known as the Michigan murders. Not to be confused with the co-ed killer.
That's who I was just thinking of.
Yeah, no. These murders gripped the Ann Arbor and Ypsilanti area of Michigan in the late 1960s. For 2 long years, fear stalked the campuses and streets as a brutal killer hunted young women. Between 1967 and 1969, 7 young women met horrific ends, their lives violently cut short. The first victim was Mary Flezar. She was a 19-year-old Eastern Michigan University student. On the 9th of July, 1967, she left her apartment for a walk to get some fresh air and never returned. Mary was an accounting student, and she also worked as a secretary and was last seen walking near the university campus. She told her roommate she needed a break from the summer heat. Her body was discovered nearly a month later, on the 7th of August in 1967, and it's found in an abandoned farmhouse 2 miles north of Ypsilanti, Michigan. I think I'm saying that right. It might be Ypsilanti. The remains were severely decomposed, as they would be, but post-mortem revealed that she had been stabbed 30 to 40 times in the chest.
Oh my gosh.
Her fingers and feet had been severed, and although authorities suspected sexual assault because of the body's condition, it made any confirmation of that impossible.
Quick question. Had the severed hands and feet been found elsewhere, or were they in the same place? Just wondering, because sometimes they'd take away sort of hands, teeth, head, etc. to prevent identification.
I did not find that out.
Sorry, I'm doing a you.
You are doing a me.
Yeah.
Well done, I'm proud of you.
Thanks.
Disturbingly, it was later revealed that a man called John Collins, who was also an EMU student, worked across the hall from where Mary was employed. Disturbingly, as you will later find out. Investigators believe the killer returned to the scene multiple times, further mutilating her remains. A neighbour recalls seeing Mary being catcalled by a young a young man who tried to lure her into his car shortly before her disappearance. At the time, police treated her murder as an isolated act of violence. However, the tragic case of Joan Schell, who was the next victim, would soon raise concerns that a serial killer was at large. The community's sense of security was further shattered when 20-year-old EMU student Joan Schell disappeared on the 30th of June in 1968. After missing a bus to Ann Arbor to visit her boyfriend, she was last seen hitchhiking near the EMU Student Union. 1 week later, construction workers discovered her body at a site near Glacier Way and Earhart Road. Joan had been stabbed 5 times. Her throat was slashed. Her blue miniskirt was wrapped around her neck, and evidence suggested she had been sexually assaulted. Investigators believe she had been killed elsewhere before her body was transported to the remote construction site. And Mark has just said anything severed was not found for the first victim. Yeah. Okay. I was going to say, I didn't see anything.
No, I just wondered if he was doing that to try and make it harder to identify them.
That's usually the case, removing hands, feet, feet, but hands and teeth, head. Yeah, just to delay IDing, if IDing at all.
That is according to Wiki, though, so who knows?
Pinch of salt.
Yeah, that's it.
Witnesses reported seeing Joan enter a late model red and white vehicle with 3 other individuals. While police were eager to question these people, they hadn't yet connected the dots to the possibility of a serial killer. However, the eerie similarities to Mary Flez's murder the previous year raised alarming concerns. The 2 young women's bodies were found only 4 miles apart. Authorities later uncovered another unsettling connection. John Collins, who I briefly mentioned, lived across the street from where Joan Schell resided. Investigators eventually suspected Collins was the driver of the vehicle she entered, which deepened the sort of chilling mystery surrounding the case. The terror continued to escalate, and on the 21st of March 1969, 23-year-old University of Michigan law student Jane Mixer was found dead in a cemetery. Unlike the previous victims, Jane had been shot twice in the head with a .22 caliber gun. Her body was fully clothed except for her shoes, which were neatly placed beside her. Stockings were twisted around her neck, and investigators believe she had been killed elsewhere before being left in the cemetery. Due to the different method of murder, police initially doubted Jane's death was connected to the others, but that sense of uncertainty kind of didn't really do much to quell any public fear. I don't know what the placing of the shoes beside the body was all about.
That's happened before.
Yeah.
In other...
Like with clothing, if it's folded up neatly and things like that.
I wonder what the psychology behind that.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Any thoughts?
I mean, it's a slight staging.
Yeah.
So does it have some sort of something to do with control of the situation, or did they have OCD? That could have been a factor.
Yeah, even something as far out there as like an overbearing mother who made everything had to be tidy.
Yeah, could be that.
Which is quite weird if he's... Well, I suppose shooting in terms of murder is, depending on what type of gun was used, would be neater than slashing of the throat and lots of stabbing.
Yeah.
Bringing some order to the chaos.
Yeah. I wish somebody would bring some order to my chaos. No, actually,
without the murder.
Without the murder, I actually quite like my chaos. Ignore that, scrap that.
Organised chaos.
The organised chaos. It's fine.
Just days later, on the 24th of March 1969, the body of 16-year-old Marilyn Skelton was discovered just a quarter of a mile from the location where Joan Schell's remains had been found. Marilyn was from Romulus and had last been seen hitchhiking in front of Arborland Mall, even on Washtenaw Avenue. Oh, I wish I'd gone over this again just to make sure I had pronunciations right.
Don't worry, babe. I do that. I go over my notes and still get it all wrong. So you're already doing better than me.
Her body, which was found in the Earhart subdivision in Ann Arbor, bore evidence of an exceptionally brutal attack. She'd been savagely beaten to death, her skull shattered. Investigators described her injuries as the most sadistic they had seen so far, with deep wounds suggesting the use of a leather strap.
Oh my gosh.
A garter belt was twisted around her neck and a large tree branch had been forcefully inserted into her body.
Oh my God. It's awful.
Marilyn had been reported missing after failing to meet a friend at McKinney Union at EMU. Ann Arbor Police Chief Walter Krasny called it the most horrific murder he had encountered in his 30 years on the force, stating that Marilyn had been beaten unmercifully about the face. The violence and depravity of the attack heightened fears that a sadistic killer was on the loose, and the urgency to catch him grew stronger with each passing day. In April 1969, 13-year-old Dawn Bassam, an 8th grade student at West Junior High School in Ypsilanti, was tragically found murdered. On the evening of April 18th, Dawn was last seen walking along the Penn Central Railroad tracks near her home, and she'd been taking a shortcut after visiting a friend. The following day, her body was discovered alongside a rural road at Gale and Vreeland Roads. She had been strangled with black electrical wire. Her body bore numerous slashes across her chest and buttocks. A handkerchief was stuffed into her mouth and her blue stretch pants were missing. Investigators noted over a dozen razor-sharp slash marks on her chest and stomach, suggesting a brutal and calculated attack. Evidence indicated she was likely killed elsewhere, like sort of the other victims, with her body being deliberately dumped where it would be quickly found. Sheriff Harvey suspected the killer wanted to ensure the discovery of her remains. Further investigation revealed signs of a struggle between the location of her abduction and where her body was left. Dawn's orange sweater was located nearby, and authorities believe she may have been taken to an abandoned house on LaForge Road. Weeks later, additional evidence surfaced in an old barn, including her missing earring. Notably, John Collins, who would later become a suspect, had friends residing in an apartment building near Dawn's home, providing him a direct view of her residence. So he lived across the halls from one, across the street from another. Now this. Just 2 months later, in June of 1969, 23-year-old Alice Callum met a similar fate. A recent graduate of the University of Michigan with a degree in the arts, Alice had continued her studies as a graduate student. On the 7th of June, she attended a birthday party at the Depot House, which was a rehearsal space for rock bands located at 416th Street, Ashley, in Ann Arbor. I get really confused with American addresses.
Yeah, they're a little bit different to ours, aren't they?
Witnesses last saw her dancing with a long-haired man. 2 days later, on the 9th of June, her naked body was discovered by 3 teenage boys in an abandoned farmhouse near North Territorial and US 23. Alice had been shot in the head, stabbed twice in the chest, raped, and her throat was gruesomely slit from ear to ear. 3 days after the discovery of her body, investigators identified the scene of her murder near Earhart Road in Joy. Evidence including her shoes, coat buttons and bloodstains confirmed it as the primary crime scene. While it remained uncertain whether she left the party with the man she had been seen dancing with, a witness later reported seeing Alice riding on the back of John Collins's motorcycle as they departed the Depot House. This connection further implicated Collins in the string of brutal murders, deepening the investigation into his possible involvement. As fear gripped the Ann Arbor Ypsilanti area, the discovery of the 6th victim heightened the community's terror. However, the horror soon extended beyond Michigan. In July of 1969, 17-year-old Roxy Phillips, I love the name Roxy.
It's a great name.
Was brutally murdered in California. She was last seen entering a shiny Cutlass with Michigan plates, an ominous detail that would later tie her death to the Michigan murders. Witnesses reported seeing Roxy get into the vehicle after returning from mailing a letter in Salinas, California. On the 13th of July 1969, approximately 2 weeks after her disappearance, her decomposed and nude body was found in Pescadero Canyon. She had been beaten and strangled with the belt of her floral patterned dress, which was tightly wrapped around her neck. Her body had been discarded in a patch of poison oak. Investigators connected John Collins to the crime following the murder of Alice in June of 1969. Collins and a friend took a road trip to Salinas. Roxy vanished during his brief stay. Witnesses identified the cutlass as his mother's car. And after Collins' arrest in Michigan, authorities impounded the vehicle and discovered a fabric swatch beneath the seat. The material matched the floral pattern and weave of Roxy's dress belt, which directly linked Collins to her death. Although he was charged with Roxy's murder in California, he was never extradited or tried due to his Michigan conviction.
That's weird.
Yeah, I don't agree with that, but... On the 23rd of July 1969, the killing spree reached its tragic conclusion with the discovery of 18-year-old Karen Sue Beineman, a freshman at Eastern Michigan University. Karen had travelled to downtown Ypsilanti that day to purchase a wig. Around 1 p.m, she was last seen accepting a ride on a motorcycle from a stranger. 4 days later, on the 27th of July, her new body was found in a ravine in a wooded gully off Riverside Drive in Ann Arbor Township by a doctor and his wife. She'd been raped, severely beaten to the point of being unrecognisable, and strangled. In a disturbing detail that mirrored previous cases, her underwear had been forcibly inserted into her vagina.
There's a lot of overkill. It sounds really like, not that it's ever not going to be a violent act, but it seems almost frenzied with the amount of stuff that's happened to these poor girls.
Yeah, that he's using several different methods.
Yeah.
So there's strangling, there's stabbing, there's shooting, slashing, multiple things happening to one body, and then you've got, inserting things into their body, which is to humiliate, essentially.
Yeah. Gosh, it's awful. I don't know how I haven't heard of this.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I'm glad I haven't, because it's awful, but it seems like the kind of thing I would have come across because of the amount of true crime we watch.
I think as well there's another set of murders known as Michigan murders as well, or the Michigan murder or something like that. So right. I think sometimes things can get a bit misconstrued. Yeah. But yeah.
I mean, it's a lot.
I think that what I find really sort of... I'm quite shut off from brutality and things like that, but the aspects that I find really disturbing are things where things are inserted. Like, you've done enough.
Yeah, like you say, it's that like an added element of humiliation after everything else. It's just like, ugh.
And I think it goes beyond humiliation as well, but I'm not sure how.
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah. So a clerk at the wig shop was the last person known to have seen Karen alive. She had remarked about making two poor choices that day: purchasing the wig and accepting a ride from a stranger on a motorcycle. Witnesses saw her leaving with a clean-cut young man, which is different to the long-haired man that the other
the other witnesses saw.
Yeah. So who was that? Alice Callum. She was seen dancing with the long-haired guy, and this guy was clean-cut.
Right.
But, he could have... Yeah, he could have cut his hair.
Could have done.
Witnesses saw her leaving with a clean-cut young man on what was believed to be a Honda 450, gleaming with chrome. Investigators compiled a list of all Honda 450s registered in the state and began the painstaking task of identifying the killer through this database. A composite sketch of the suspect bore a strong resemblance to John Norman Collins, who owned a similar motorcycle. An autopsy confirmed that Beineman had been killed on the day she went missing. The devastating news caused her father, Roland, to be hospitalised for shock.
Oh,
I know.
Oh, it's so sad.
Sheriff Harvey was personally informed and opted to deploy minimal personnel to the scene. authorities had developed a plan to place a mannequin at the site of the next victim's discovery, hoping to lure the killer back. Investigators suspected the perpetrator had revisited at least 2 previous dump sites. Washtenaw County Prosecutor William Delly approved the operation, and on the evening of Saturday, July 26th, 6 detectives from both the Sheriff's Department and State Police positioned themselves for the stakeout. 4 detectives concealed themselves in vehicles, while the other 2 patrolled on foot. Around midnight, a solitary man was spotted walking along Riverside Drive. The steady rain made his presence all the more conspicuous. Nobody goes out for... Well, I've been running in the rain.
I mean, it's less likely that someone would want to go for a stroll in the rain, though.
Yeah, it's been like a leisurely stroll.
Yeah.
Especially in such a remote location at that hour. When he entered the ravine, the detectives felt certain they had their suspect. He approached the mannequin, standing so close he could reach out and touch it. Realising it was not Beinerman's body, he immediately fled into the woods. Despite a determined pursuit, the detectives were unable to apprehend him.
What? They were staking it out. How did they then not get him? Although if I was on a stakeout, I know I'd be like really kind of concentrating for the first 5 minutes, and then my ADHD or whatever's wrong with me would be like, oh, a bird, or then I'd fall asleep.
See, I would fall asleep.
Yeah, I'd be
and
rubbish.
that's why I'd be really, really bad, and that's why we're not detectives on stakeouts.
Exactly. But they were expecting him to be there. So
and he got that close to the mannequin.
Yeah.
You'd think...
That's really frustrating.
Yeah. News of the incident quickly spread, prompting criticism of law enforcement. Prosecutor Delhay acknowledged the possibility that the man was simply a passerby, startled by the detective's shouts.
Yeah.
Methinks not.
No, I don't think so.
Ahoy there!
Sounds like they're trying to cover themselves. No, it sounds like it was him, and he realised it wasn't the body, and then he booked it into the woods.
Yes, and got away. Not for long. However, the circumstances made this explanation seem unlikely. Delay admitted, obviously, we didn't have enough personnel on the scene. They had 6 officers. But we couldn't really flood the area with officers, or the suspect might have seen them. I get that.
But he got away anyway, so...
Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong, I do get that. But if they are strategically placed...
Yeah, hidden.
It's a wooded area. There would have been quite a few places you could have hidden, and therefore he may not have got away.
That's the thing. Like, in my mind, you'd have someone... Where's the most likely place for him to run away? The woods, probably. Yeah. So why wouldn't you have people in the woods? Or, you know...
Especially, like, if he's going to run away from the mannequin, i.e. the body...
Yeah.
You'd probably work out maybe what kind of directions he might go and have people placed there so that you could just like launch yourself at him.
That's the thing. I mean, you don't have to be a detective to work that out. That's just logical, surely.
Well, yeah.
I don't know. I wasn't there, but...
And yes, we aren't trained law enforcement.
We're not.
Maybe we should be.
Well...
Apart from noise stakeouts because we'd fall asleep.
Yeah, and I'm too forgetful. But like, freeze! What's your name?
You.
You fiend. Stop that.
While the detectives faced scrutiny for failing to capture the man, it was important to consider the challenging conditions they faced. The suspect navigated the dense woods and heavy rain, significantly reducing visibility. After realising the mannequin was not a body, he quickly fled, likely through a swampy area, before swimming across the Huron River to evade capture. But again, it's 6-1.
Yeah. And they... Yeah, it's just kind of annoying because they're like, oh, but he ran away. Well, did you not expect that then?
Yeah, he's not going to be like, oh, dang.
Damn, you've got me. I'm just going to wait here.
Gig's off, I suppose.
I'll just wait here. I won't run away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really know.
I don't know. It's a bit silly.
The break in the case came from an unexpected source. The uncle of John Norman Collins, who was Michigan State Trooper David Leake, had asked his nephew to watch his house while he was on vacation. Upon returning, Corporal Leake noticed irregularities in his basement, including what appeared to be blood.
Oh.
Suspicious, he reported his concerns to authorities, shifting the investigation's focus to Collins. I mean, I think that's pretty decent of him. Like, that's a family member. Mm-hmm. A lot of people would quite possibly be torn and maybe ask or speak to them first or try and get something out of them before, rather than thinking, oh, there's a couple of signs here, I'm just going to go straight to the police.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I wonder if his personality and or demeanour suggested he was a bit of a off-kilter personality, and therefore the suspicious things were made even more suspicious.
Yeah. And the fact that he is a state trooper as well, like his profession, you know, he's probably going to look into these things and think...
Look at it differently.
Yeah. And it's not going to be a case of, oh, that just seems a bit weird.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say anything. And, you know...
He's more alert to the fact that it could be something nefarious.
Yeah. And look more deeply into it.
Mm-hmm.
Corporal Leake confirmed Collins owned a motorcycle matching the description. See, this thing, there's sort of the other factors as well, I suppose. Mm-hmm. Further scrutiny of Leake's basement revealed blood splatters near the washing machine and a fingerprint embedded in wet paint, which was later identified as Collins. Additional evidence from Collins' car, including blood and hair matching Beinemann's, further implicated him. Clark said the wig shop also identified Collins as the man last seen with Beinemann. On July 31st, 1969, John Norman Collins was arrested for Karen Sue Beinemann's murder. At the time, Collins was a senior at Eastern Michigan University studying elementary education. He was studying to be a teacher for kids in elementary school.
That's really alarming.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really, really alarming. When was this? What date was this again?
This was when he was arrested.
No, just generally, the general date of this.
67 to 69.
Okay.
Authorities believed Karen was killed in the basement of Corporal Leake's home. Despite an attempt to conceal evidence by repainting the basement, blood splatters were detected and hairs matching those found in her underwear were recovered from the scene. Further forensic analysis revealed more than 500 short-clipped blonde hairs on Karen's body, which were consistent with the hair of the Leake children. So obviously, you know, they'd just been shedded sort of around the house, and they just ended kind of up on her body, which then ties her to the location. Despite the overwhelming evidence, Collins continued to proclaim his innocence. His trial, which began in June of 1970, became the longest in Washtenaw County history. Key witnesses include Diane Gosh, the wig shop owner, and Arnold Davis, a friend of Collins, who testified about Collins' suspicious actions, including disposing of items after being questioned by police. A campus police officer also identified Collins as the man he had seen riding a motorcycle and flirting with girls on the day Beinemann disappeared. On August 19th, 1970, the jury found John Norman Collins guilty of the murder of Karen Sue Beinemann. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Due to the strength of the physical evidence, Collins was only tried for Beinemann's murder.
What?
Yeah.
This case makes me mad.
Yeah, so it's a case of there was no physical evidence for the others, only like sightings, maybe circumstantial.
Yeah.
There wasn't enough of it, that kind of thing. Whereas with Karen, there was a huge amount. Yeah. You know, and obviously the one in California, which he wasn't extradited for because of the Michigan murders. So there's physical evidence for that, physical evidence to Karen, which tied her to the location of death, etc., etc. Although convicted of Beinemann's murder, Collins remained a prime suspect in the other Michigan killings, as well as the murder of Roxy Phillips in California. Striking similarities connected the cases. The victims were mostly young white women with brown hair. and the methods of killing involved beating, stabbing, shooting, and strangulation. Many victims were raped and mutilated, and their bodies were left in conspicuous locations or only partially concealed. Survivors reported unsettling encounters with a clean-cut young man in a shiny car or on a motorcycle resembling Collins. So, again, there's the mention of the clean cut, so I think the person that Alice was dancing with, the long-haired person, wasn't him at all.
Right, yeah.
That would make me think that anyway.
Yeah.
One woman even recalled Collins displaying suspicious knowledge about the locations where bodies had been discovered.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you're just dumping yourself in it, really, then, mate.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that he clearly wanted the bodies to be discovered and then...
But I think that's maybe an arrogance thing.
Yeah, could be.
Oh, look what I've done right under your noses.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, kind of like Mark said, borderline bragging.
Yeah, that's it.
John Norman Collins was later dubbed the co-ed killer, which is the same as Ed Kemper, isn't it? Co-ed killer, co-ed murder.
There's quite a few.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there were co-ed murders in Ted Bundy case.
Yeah, that's true.
There's quite a lot throughout all of them.
Yeah, I just thought, was it Ed Kemper, the co-ed killer? I can't remember.
I can't remember.
And these murders did leave an enduring scar on the Ann Arbor and Ypsilanti communities. Though never tried for the other murders, the shadow of his crimes continues to haunt the memories of those who endured the terror of that time.
Oh my gosh. That
Yeah.
is bonkers, yeah, he was nice.
Yeah, Ed Kemper,
was.
co-ed killer.
But yeah, that's
So you've got several co-ed
quite
killers.
a few murderers, serial killers, etc., etc.
Yeah. So this is the perhaps lesser known or lesser reported,
Yeah.
maybe, co-ed killer.
And it sounds like he was quite brazen as well because, you know, sounds like it was possibly the same motorbike continuously reported and seen by witnesses. So
Yeah. And his close call with the police, well, I can call it a close call-ish, he didn't kill again. Did he? No.
or perhaps not that we know of.
He didn't kill again after. Yeah, and so he didn't kill again after the, for want of a better term, stakeout.
Yeah. I mean, I can't... So he was only tried for one murder?
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I know that obviously if they don't have sufficient evidence for all the others, but surely with the MO being so similar...
But what baffles me is that, the whole extradition issue.
Yeah.
If there has been sufficient evidence, like there was, physical evidence, that tied him to the murder of Roxy Phillips, then why can he not be... I don't get the whole sort of... I mean, I get the jurisdiction thing, but if he is proved to have killed Roxy, why can't they try him for both?
I have no idea. Makes no sense.
Other people have been extradited.
Yeah, that makes...
And then, I suppose then it's decided where they're going to serve their sentence.
Yeah. But that's the thing, with America being such a big place, that's obviously not a new thing to have happened. So it's been worked out since then, or probably previously to then, so it seems strange that they couldn't work that out themselves.
Maybe it was, the era.
Could have been, but...
Obviously, this was the time before the term serial killer was coined.
Yeah, true.
And things like that. Things were a lot different.
Perhaps a bit more complicated.
Yeah, and a lot of evidence now is DNA.
Yeah.
So,
what I find really amazing is the forethought of a lot of these cases, probably later than this, but where they've saved evidence in case technology improves, and then they're revisiting these cases.
Yeah.
So, that's a certain type of person that can go, okay, I can't figure this out right now, but in the future, I reckon
Exactly.
this will be invented, or there will be some way of looking at this differently.
Yeah, and I know he received a life sentence and stuff, but that doesn't mean he can't be then convicted of other murders. And also that gives families closure.
Yeah.
It gives them answers.
Yeah, and at least some sort of
Just
justice.
because he's serving life doesn't mean, we can forget about it now.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
No, because he hasn't been like reprimanded for the other
Yeah,
other
like
murders. They're
that
still
to me
lives.
doesn't scream justice.
No, it seems a bit half-assed, really,
Yeah.
because he's been tried for one. There was a failed stakeout. Okay, yeah, they got him in the end, but
That's only because of his uncle.
yeah, exactly. His uncle
And,
shot
you know,
him.
perhaps, like, if he had gone on to kill again, he might have been caught after that one,
Yeah.
and there would have been physical evidence for that. But you don't know. Save anything.
Yeah, exactly.
But, yeah, so...
What were we... I was watching a documentary about the Zodiac Killer. No. Yes, I was, but that was another time. No, not Zodiac Killer. We were watching that, weren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was watching one about the murders along the beach.
Oh,
in
the Long Island.
Long Island, yeah.
Gone
and-
Girls.
Yes, Gone Girls. Yeah, and they're re-looking at the case as we speak because evidence was saved and they were
Yeah.
able to test it in new ways. So they're trying to see what else was connected.
But again, those happened later.
They did happen later,
When
yeah.
DNA was more of a thing.
Absolutely, but it's just a good example of the fact that they've gone, okay, well, you never know what might happen.
Exactly.
And then they have been able to look at it again.
You know, essentially what they're saying is they're cold cases, these other...
Yeah.
There's suspicions.
Yeah.
Well, in which case, save the evidence in case it can be proved later.
Exactly.
But maybe that's modern thinking.
Maybe it is modern thinking, yeah. It's bonkers. I've never heard of it.
It seemed to be like after the term serial killer was coined, then things started to pick up.
Yeah. Yeah, they were like, oh, we should probably do something about this and pull our pants up a little bit.
Yeah, because you don't know how many murders have been committed by the same person.
No, exactly.
And, you know, you could have closed many a cold case.
That's it, because, I mean, many of them would have happened across sort of like different states. And maybe if the MO varied slightly, but then killers do change their MOs because they sort of find ways which they like to do it. So then they sort of...
Yeah,
it
they
does
kind of
change
begin
from the beginning.
experimenting, perhaps.
Exactly. I was trying to say it in a better way, but it wasn't coming out. No. It's word to heart.
And then they find something I like, and then maybe if they think, oh, there's a bit too much heat, let's change things up.
Yeah.
Or, you know, the way they think changes, and then they, could go anyway. So yes, those are the Michigan murders. It is a bit of a short one. Quite a few victims, sadly.
Yeah. And brutal.
Brutal.
Just awful. Well, thanks for that.
You're welcome.
It's a good one to end on today.
My head pounding.
No, it is important to tell these stories. And I think maybe this one has slipped under the radar because he wasn't labelled a serial killer.
Yeah.
Because he was only convicted for one. So maybe that's
And
why
again,
it's
like,
by.
this hasn't, by the looks of things, it hasn't been written about too much.
No.
There probably is more. Also, he did try going for the insanity plea.
Oh, don't they all?
Oh, tale as old as time, that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
But don't
I
make me
am
do it.
sorry, sir. I was mad at the time. Right, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, there probably is a lot more. I mean, I looked at some sort of reputable sites for this information and things like that, but it's not that in-depth, this one. But it is important to be told. You are correct.
Definitely.
I do concur.
Well, thank you for telling that tale. Don't get on the back of strange people's motorcycles, anyone.
Or in strangers' cars.
Or in strangers' cars. Definitely don't hitchhike. We've learnt that lesson many a time
Always
before.
carry something like a weapon. Well, not a weapon, but something to protect yourself with.
Something to protect yourself with, yeah. Definitely.
Times haven't changed that much.
No, they haven't
Unfortunately.
really. There's just... there's more cameras around. But I don't know if
But then they don't pick up very well either.
No, they don't actually. And I think, to be fair, we've had cameras for so long in this country that we're kind of used to them. But I think everywhere else it's a newer introduction to people.
Big Brother
Yeah.
is watching.
Whereas over here, we've always had it.
The
on
only
for a long
good
time.
cameras are the ones that we now have in supermarkets at like the self-checkouts.
Yes.
And by good, I mean they show up everything.
Yeah.
Every chin, every blemish.
Every pore. Yeah.
Yeah. They should just put those around
Yeah, they
everywhere.
should do, actually. Whoever's making them.
Nobody would get away with anything.
No.
No.
No. Nobody would want to because they'd be like, ugh.
Yeah. Don't
That's
post
not
that.
good look.
This lady seen, but then you wouldn't be able to tell it's the same person because it... I don't recall her having 16 chins.
She did in this video, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, thank you very much, Market Park Lane Studios, for all the production, the lighting, the sound, the visuals. Yep.
All the things. He does all the things, all the social media as
Yeah.
well. So he's basically in charge of everything apart from the content, although sometimes he helps out with content.
He does.
So
If you head on over to linktree/Cars of the Macabre, you will find the links to all of our socials, our email address if you want to send in any spooky and or true crime stories.
yeah, please do that.
You'll also find a link to Ink and Engines, which is the tattoo and car convention that we will be attending and performing.
Yeah,
At-
we'll be there.
Yeah.
We will be there.
The link there to buy tickets. It's an amazing show. We'll put the link in the show notes as well. It's also pinned on our Instagram, so it's the first post that you will come across.
Yep.
If you feel so inclined, please like, subscribe, download, share, comment. Turn on your alerts for notifications when there's a new episode.
Review us. Tell people about us. We love having you listening to us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you
I
very
think,
much.
is that it?
I think that's it. Thank you very much, Alison. Thank you very much, Mark.
Oh, I got the full whammy there.
À la Laston, formerly known as À la Laston.
Okay then. Yeah. Well, until next time.
Stay spooky, bitches.